Okay, welcome to the NIBS Worldwide Business Case Competition 2014. The consultancy team is presenting for Avans University of Applied Sciences. The presentation will last 20 minutes. I'm the timekeeper. I will signal when there are 10, 5, 3 and 1 minute left. Please nod that you've seen the time. After the presentation, the judges will have 10 minutes for questions and answers. Again, I will signal the time, 5, 3 and 1. Please nod. You must stop when I indicate the time is up, even if you're not quite finished. I'll now let the judges introduce themselves. After the introduction, you may begin.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Morgan, and my team here represent the executive of the Tennessee Valley Authority, and I will let them introduce themselves.
I'm Fiona and I'm the project manager.
My name is Greg Talent. I'm the Business Development Manager.
Guy Bridger from Finance.
Okay, we are very interested to hear what you have to say to us, so if you'd like to introduce yourselves, and over to you.
All right, welcome everybody to our presentation. Welcome Morgan. Let me first introduce ourselves. To my right, this is Rutger. To my left, Bramut, Frederick, and myself, Florian. And today we would like to give you a good solution for your current problem. First of all, we come from the Netherlands. We are Breda Consulting, and Breda, it stands for Best Recommendations because we operate excellent, detailed, and accurate. And this presentation is targeted at you, Morgan, at the Tennessee Valley authorities. Let me first talk about our structure. We are going to begin with the key issue formulation, which is your strategic problem. Afterwards, the stakeholders' needs definition, then an executive summary, which is our final recommendation. Afterwards, an internal and external analysis, which results in a short SWOT analysis in the end. Then we talk about how to increase your capacity, which is of course very important. Afterwards, we also talk about a shift from peak to a basic load, and we will finalize the presentation with educating your consumers and a short recommendation in the end. So let's come first to our key issue, to your strategic problem and what you have to do. How can TVA, how can Tennessee Valley Authority satisfy the different needs of its various stakeholders best? So that's the strategic problem, that's the main issue you have to focus on, and we have a solution for that. In order to find a recommendation for this, we first have to discuss the stakeholders' needs. First of all, that's the supply of power to cover the increasing power needs. The market is growing by 1% every year, so you have to definitely address this problem. The two main questions are how to increase your capacity and how to finance your expansion. Secondly, a very important need for the stakeholders is a shift from the peak to the base load. So that's even more important for you as a company and for you as the vice president. Because in times like, for example, in the evenings, of course, more people use electricity, and the big problem is you cannot store it. So that's why you have to find a solution for that. And we defined the question, which pricing model should be used here? Last but not least, for the stakeholders' needs, there is cleaner and more renewable energy is required. And the main question here is, how can energy use efficiency be improved? So that's what you also have to address. After the short analysis of the stakeholders' needs, we come to our executive summary, which is the solution, our recommendation to your strategic problem. That is, we recommend to you to build 6 natural gas plants, and secondly, to implement an awareness campaign to change the consumer attitude and behavior on solar energy and power usage. So those two are the main basic points of our recommendation, which you have to address, and this will be now explained in our analysis by my colleagues. Let me now hand over to my colleague Rutger.
Thank you. Okay, we did an analysis, internal analysis, to see how is your business operating at the moment. Okay, you have a very broad mission. You want to bring reliable production and have a good pricing for your customers. You also take into account the environment in which you're operating. So Tennessee as a landscape, there are some drought problems with shortage of rain, and you also want to try to address that problem as well. And you want to seek partnership with your local government. You also already has a big partnership with the US government as a whole, but also local government will be more and more important for you as a company. Then we looked at your current production, which is shown in this graph, in this diagram, sorry. At the moment, you are producing 55% of your production is fossil fuel. Therefore, you have a big carbon footprint on this, on the landscape in Tennessee. And for instance, the renewable sources and natural gas, which has a much lower footprint, are very limited. We also can see you have to buy 11% more energy from competitors, because at the moment you can't fulfill the total need of the population. Further, we looked at your AAA rating, which is a very good point, of course. The main reason you have a AAA rating is that you are guaranteed by the US government. It will, the US government will back you up in a financial crisis, because you're too much of a valuable player to lose, to go bankrupt. We have power losses, etc., and it can't happen. It may not happen. So therefore, guaranteed by the US government. That results in your high long-term debt ceiling. It's $30 billion. So that's the figure the US government is guaranteeing. And you also have a good involvement in the green revolution. You're still producing with a high carbon footprint, but you are willing to change. But you have to do that much more. For the external analysis, I'll give the word to Bramut.
Thank you. For the external analysis, we looked toward the D-step analysis. With the demographic, we found a lot of different incomes are in your operating area. There are also a lot of high incomes, but also some very low incomes where you have to take in consideration. And the electricity demand increases. We've seen a shift, where we saw an increase from 2.5% increase in electricity in the last 20 years. And this, like my colleague said, will continue to grow 1% for the next 20 years. For economical, we see we're currently dealing with an economical downturn. So that's a big major issue. And also for the consumers, they have to deal with that. For social, we see that people also already calling for you that they don't want to increase in electricity rates. People are really anxious that they need to pay more. So that's why they hammer on that they don't want to increase. Also with technology, we see that there are a lot of technology developments, also in the nuclear area, but also in renewable energy like solar power. Also, we see an increase in environmental awareness. All around the world, people want to see environmental awareness that they're being planted and want to reduce our carbon footprint. With political, we see an uncertain political environment, so there's a lot of switch and dangerous things. For the SWOT analysis, to conclude our internal and external analysis, we see a strong point, the AA ration, to get a good loan from the government. You are participating in a green revolution and you have a high debt ceiling of 30 million, like my colleague mentioned, and there's a reliable source of power. For the weakness, we see unable to meet the energy demand for consumers, and you have a problem with the base and peak load management. So when the energy is used low and peak, it's hard to struggle to keep it up. Opportunities, we see new technologies to use. We see energy saving programs to inform the consumers. There's a commitment to the NRC, so it's allowed to build more plants, and the time of use price model. As threats, we've seen an economical downturn, the volatility in prices, so there's also a mean in production prices to build plants, the legislation of the green energy, and the unexpected events. These will account up to 20% of the turnover. And now I'd like to give the word to Florian.
Thank you, Bramut. I will now address the question how to increase your capacity. First of all, there are two reasons why you should do that. As you can see, the demand increases, so the required capacity would also increase from 2013 to 2017. And in 2018, you will shut down some of your coal plants. So this will increase the required capacity enormously. So
Sorry.
your current capacity is around 37.188 megawatt, and as I've shown you, that's not enough to cover the required capacity in the future. So there are different alternatives and different power generating possibilities that we've listed in this chart. I want to show you, for example, that for a nuclear plant, a new nuclear plant, you need $5.5 billion. It takes 4 years to build, and it produces a lot of energy and a yearly cash inflow. On the other hand, there's coal, but you want to reduce that. So we don't consider this option further. Also due to the fact that the pollution is too high, and if you shut down some coal plants, it doesn't make sense to build new ones. So the options that are left are natural gas, wind, solar, and nuclear. The wind and the solar alternatives, they produce not enough electricity to cover the base loads during the for the market. So that's why those two options can also be deleted. So we further analyzed now the nuclear and the natural gas power generation alternatives. So in order to do that, we came up with this decision-making matrix, which compares one nuclear plant to 3 natural gas plants, as then the capacity is nearly equal. So we took into account the construction costs, which I already said is 5.5 billion for the nuclear and 1.95 for the 3 natural gas plants. This is considerably lower, as you can see, and that's also why it ranks higher in the score. The next comparison point or weighing factor is the construction time. It's 4 years versus 2.5 years, because you can build the natural gas plants simultaneously. So that's also a strong point for the natural gas plants. The production capacity is nearly the same, so that's roughly the same score. And the yearly cash inflow that's a positive factor for the nuclear plants, because that's much higher, as you can see. So after analyzing those two options, we decided that building natural gas plants is the best for your business. And you also have to take into account that the environmental factor is much better for the natural gas plants. So a short time planning for that is that in 2013, 14 and 15, you have to build those plants. We took half a year for possible delays during the working and the building process, so that's why we calculated with 3 years building time. After that, so starting in 2016, you can start generating the energy with these plants. And if you look now at this capacity graph, here's again the required capacity graph that you will cover the required capacity until 2017 when building 3 plants as mentioned below, above. So you can see that your capacity increases, but from 2017 on, or 2018 when you shut down the coal plants, this won't be covered anymore. And that's why we advise you to build 3 additional natural gas plants from 2014 on. So at that time you will be building 6 plants. So 2014 to 2015, 6 plants are in the building process, and they will generate energy 1 year later, so starting from 2017. So as you can see, this changes the graph, and you will be able to cover all the required capacity until 2019. Then of course the demand increases again, and you have to continue building more plants, but we are just looking at this major impact of the shutting down of the coal industry. So the next topic will be the financing of those plants. Just do it on the keyboard. Yeah. Yeah, it's wrong. Well, for the financing, I still can say something about that. We want to split the financing into a loan and in a government bond issuing for 30-year bonds, and this will be done, I think, around 50% each, so taking up a loan and issuing the government bonds.
Feel sorry for that.
Furthermore, the financing also includes a marketing plan, but this will be discussed by my colleagues. And I hope the presentation will be there. So.
Yeah, we'll just pause for a minute while the presentation
Thank you very much.
reloads.
We will, of course, ignore this completely.
Thank you.
I've already forgotten. Not in my mind, that's all.
I hope you understand that's not the problem of our consultants.
No.
Yes, it
Of
is.
your facilities. Not at all.
That's why Bill Gates is so rich.
They're made to break, aren't they? That's it.
In a way, you've got some thinking time, haven't you?
Exactly.
So you could work this to your advantage.
Maybe it's completely broken and won't work again.
First time.
Yeah.
Is the timekeeper allowed to tell us how many, at what point we pause? How many times? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen again.
My advice is not to use the clicker,
Not the clicker?
because it might happen again because of the clicker. You never know.
Well done. Thank you.
Okay, you've got 6 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. So I keep this short because I already talked a little bit about it. We want to split the investment in taking up a loan and issuing new 30-year government bonds. And the investment will be used for the new plant productions, so the building of the plants, and the marketing costs. But this will be explained further by my colleagues, Ramad and Rüdiger.
Thank you. The other issue we should address is shifting from peak load to base load. Therefore, we formulate 2 options. The first option is implement a time of use pricing model. The time of use pricing model will be done with new meters, so people can see if they use in the low peak, they get cheaper energy, and in the high peak, the the prices will be higher. The other option, therefore, is don't implement a time of use pricing model, but start an awareness campaign, so you don't shift from price model. For option 1, there are some advantages and disadvantages. If you do implement a price, the pricing model, you'll see a great shift from peak to base load. And you can also monitor the specific power usage during those peak and base load time. And if the customer will adapt this pricing strategy, it also will reduce the utility bill for the customer in the end. The disadvantages are that there is an image problem attached to it. You have to implement new meters. They cost a lot of money, and your customers are poor. They can't pay them, so the image will be made of that you will subsidiate high income people, and that's not a good feel. So the high cost for the consumer, again, like I said already, and people don't find it nice that you know that you collect the data on their household habits. So that's a big disadvantage. For option 2, the awareness campaign, we can create a small shift. We can't really monitor it. It's a disadvantage of it, but it's a small shift, so there is a shift. And it's good for your company image because you'll be creating awareness about use of energy, so you'll take your customer by hand and show them how to can reduce their bills at the end. The low monitoring usage, I already said that to you. Another disadvantage is it's time consuming. It will take a few years. And there's a small group of stakeholders who don't like this at all. They don't think at the current economy, they don't want you to put your money into those kind of campaigns. We make a decision-making matrix as well. You see we rank the stakeholders very high because they have a lot of influence on you. The campaign is the most suitable because of the disadvantages of the stakeholders. The conclusion should be start an awareness campaign to create a shift from peak to base load. Bromwich will tell you about how we're going to do that.
Thank you. For the educate your consumers, that's the awareness campaign. Our aim here for us is to change the consumer behavior on the long term, so they'll be more energy efficient and that they look better at their base and peak times. Why are we going to do that? Just like I said, to change the load between that, so there's a better capacity, and also it reduces their electricity bill. That's why they better can go. They decrease the electricity bill, whether it's It's decrease the electricity bill, so they don't come with the complaints where they're already targeting that. And how we're going to do that? We're going to school, educate the children, and going to events and communities. Here we got a small timeline, how we're going to do that. So in year 1, we're going to start already in the schools. Outcomes are only 5 years. Children always lead on electricity, and that comes with high electricity bill. Then we start with year 1 and 2 in the low incomes, going to the mid incomes, and to the high incomes. Also, we want to do the benefits of the solar panels. The government has a subsidizing program, so people can buy the solar panels for low cost. They're improved technologies, solar powers are better, use more energy. And nowadays, when there's unused electricity, you can sell it back to the company, so to your company, with a premium price. This reduces the bill. That's why we want to amplify people to buy solar panels.
Alright, in the end, our key takeaways for you. Concerning the supply of power to cover the increasing power demands of your stakeholders, we advise you to build 6 natural gas plants, and in addition to that, we have a finance expansion plan for you. The second point is a shift from the peak to the base load. That's of course not completely possible, but we are starting with you an awareness campaign and talk about usage behavior with your customers. Finally, the key takeaway for a cleaner and more renewable energy trend is the following. We advise you to educate people to use the solar panels, and the natural gas is more environmental friendly than neutral energy or, for example, coal. That is why we chose this again. Now, thank you very much for your attention. We loved it to present in front of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you
very much. Okay, if we can start with some questions from the end, Guy.
Yeah, you mentioned you're keen to encourage people to use solar energy. Can you explain where you came from with that?
Yeah, the way we wanted to do that, solar energy plants will take up a lot of space, a lot of ground, a lot of acres to fulfill the use, the level they can produce. But by encouraging people to buy solar panels they can put on their houses, they will produce their own electricity. So their own electricity will make sure that their bill will be reduced by a subsidy from the government. The cost for the solar panels will be lower, and also because the technology has improved, solar panels can produce more now, also during cloudy days, and therefore the bill also reduces because they produce more, and if they produce more than they actually need, you already buy that at premium price back and you shift it to other customers that need more energy. So therefore we thought you could build your plant, but it takes a lot of acres, and we think by promoting the solar panels you also get the acres, but not just on the ground, it's already on housings and other buildings.
Great.
Energy supply and all its issues is a long-term business, really. And I'm curious, you only worked it out to 2018, 2019. You know? I didn't see any figures to show me what might happen after that, for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Have you considered that?
Well, the demand is expected to increase by 1% each year for the next 20 years. So that's over the time horizon that we've chosen. But you're currently introducing every 4 years one nuclear production plant to cope with the increasing demand. And we are advising you to build, instead of one nuclear production plant, 3 new natural gas plants in this 4-year.
I don't see any projections moving beyond 2018.
No, because we expect it to be just continuously grow by 1% and introducing another natural gas plant, 3 additional natural gas plants every 4 years.
Okay. Concerning the renewable variable, we just told you that you should educate your consumers about the solar panel thing. And the big disadvantage of producing them by your own is the very high costs and the very low cash inflow. And that's why we recommend to you to educate consumers to buy it on their own somewhere else, and then you will profit from them because you buy the excess capacity which is produced by them.
Okay.
The solar panel for the people that has income, how is it going to be cost for them? How you are going to suggest manage this?
Well, the technology advanced very much in the last years, so people will get a lot of electricity out of it, and that's why we want to go to them, educate them of the high profitability for them.
They have the equipment to sell.
Excuse me?
For the equipment to sell, but they have access to it.
Yeah. First, they have, of course, they are starting their own solar panel company, right? So they use their own solar power during those peak moments. For the base load, they will have to have your energy. So you see the swift from the load, from the peak to the load. So they will cover that. So you immediately don't have to produce that much of a peak energy anymore. And by that peak is always at a certain level. And if they produce much more energy of that, because of the product development, you can buy that premium back and shift it to other.
I think your question was how much one of the panels will cost the customers, right? So we advise them to buy those panels from an external supplier. So we just tell them that they can benefit a lot from these panels, that we will buy their excess electricity back at a premium price, but we advise them to buy the panels themselves from an external supplier.
Okay, can you just talk us through some of the risks associated with your strategy. Perhaps you could talk about external risks.
Well, of
risks
course,
for the internal
you
company.
can never exclude risks at all, but if you build such a plant, you know exactly how much it will produce. And that's why the risk is very, very low in this case. And we didn't consider it in our presentation because you build the 6 plants, you produce the energy, and the risk of, I don't know, an earthquake is not that high to consider it in a 20-minute presentation for you.
But we have other risks associated with legislation, with politics, with social issues around green
Exactly, yeah.
supplies.
Yeah.
How are those factored into your decision?
Well, the risk is especially high concerning the legislation, for example, for nuclear and for coal plants, because the waste disposal, the regulations are increasingly strict. And for the natural gas plants, the environmental impact is not as high as for those 2 energy generating alternatives. So the risk for legislation is lower for the natural gas production.
Okay.
And that's why we've chosen for that.
Other questions from my colleagues?
Yeah, when you considered nuclear, was there any overriding factor that put you off?
Of the nuclear building.
Yeah, I've seen your cost comparisons,
Yeah.
which is very straightforward, as I understand.
But we thought, for example, Fukushima, you saw what can happen when there is a destruction of such a plant. We think the impact on the whole world is too big to support, and that's why we think building new nuclear plants is not the right decision.
In addition to that, our focus in this presentation was on your stakeholders, so mainly on your customers. And we consider that your reputation for that is very important. And the reputation concerning the gas plants is a lot better than concerning the nuclear power plant, what we have seen in Fukushima.
In the longer term, just to probe a little bit, to find out a bit more about your decision making behind the finances. You've come up with some numbers, but just if you could give me a bit more information about what you think about nuclear, because we've got a lot of nuclear power in play, and we don't have any problems with running nuclear power plants, or utilising that as a resource and supplying it to our customers. Apart from the peak load problems, that's something we have to manage internally.
As stated in your mission, also you are really looking at the local environment as well, and the waste disposal is a big problem for the nuclear plants. So the derivative, I think, of the uranium is highly radioactive, and you would have to find solutions for disposing the waste, which will increase your costs. And that's a big factor for us to not choose for the nuclear plant, as this has to be stored in the area where we operate in.
Very good, thank you.
I suppose customers don't go along with buying solar panels, because maybe they can't afford it. What's the contingency in that case?
Well, because you're really backed up by the US government, you think the subsidizing is very, very important for that. But yeah, you can persuade your government to do that, because they will get their environmental footprint down. Houses will be their own plants. Sorry, I lost my story.
Solar panels, expensive.
Yeah, expensive, of course. Also, the constant improvement of technology will make them much more affordable as well. And we have to let the customers see that they will eventually get their investment back and will make money in the future. We don't have a time frame for that, because we don't know what the production costs of solar panels are at the moment.
Our educational plan is focused on the long run.
Thank you very much.
Okay.